So let's talk about how to be more in your feminine energy as a woman. And I'm doing something feminine while I talk about this, right? Trimming some flowers and putting them into a vase, which I will use as my first point here. Being in your feminine energy is about beauty, nature, sensory experiences, right? And so even if you've grown up like a high achiever like I have, really learning how to take it a step back, slow it down, enjoy, cultivate, and bring in more of the beauty in your life. Like there's beautiful things to take in and appreciate and admire every single day, right? A gorgeous sunshine, a lovely tree, even the way the clouds look in the sky, the blue sky, flowers just like this, all of that stuff. So slowing it down, both appreciating and cultivating more beauty in your life is hugely going to activate like more feminine energy. And, the question here is, how do you feel more feminine? Doing some of these actions are what's going to, carve the neural pathways, which I also talk about in my Stoic View of Love video. How do you actually carve new neural pathways and think differently and act differently? Well, doing different actions, is a hugely powerful way to do that. And you'll notice you don't need a ton of time. You don't need any certain extra special skills. This one I'm going to let go of. You just need to do it. You just need to make the choice and do it. Like really sitting with a bouquet of flowers like this is something I never would have done. Like whenever I got flowers in the past, it'd be fast, unwrap them, throw them in the water, right? But these days I sit with them. I take the time with them. When I first put them in the vase, I arrange them. I change the water frequently. They last me so much longer. And I enjoy the process of taking care of them. Nurturing and caretaking is very much feminine energy, right? And so you can do that for yourself. You can do that for the plants in your home. You can do that for family members. You can do that for pets. You can volunteer at an animal shelter. Always a hugely rewarding experience for me. And you're stepping into your feminine energy when you do that, right? You're becoming the nurturer and the caretaker. And it's more of a relaxed cadence, right? It's on your terms, on your schedule. You're not making a big obligation or commitment out of it. You're not turning this into something you need to produce, right? You're not turning any of this stuff into a job, but it's something that you get to do. And so that type of charity work, that's why charity work is hugely correlated with being a bit more feminine energy. Going along with that, sensory experiences are going to help you tap more into your feminine energy. So I will quite literally think of my 5 senses, right? And how can I invite or stimulate more of those 5 senses in any given situation? So how can I make the visuals, the things that I'm looking at, more beautiful? How can I incorporate wonderful, delicious, clean or woody or vanilla or orange or rose, whatever smells you like? How do I incorporate more of those fragrances into my life? Touch, right? Are my clothes nice and soft? Does my hair feel soft? Is my couch soft? Are there soft pillows? Is my bedding soft? So this delicious feeling sense as well. The more you cultivate and are conscientious of all that, the more you're going to step into your feminine energy. Feminine energy is very rooted in the body, and that's a good segue also for the senses, right? And a lot of women, myself included, are normally very detached from our body. Like when we feel stressed, where do you feel that in the body? Like I found myself getting a little bit anxious these days at around 4 p.m. I don't really know why, but I know that I feel that like right here. So just turning my attention inward and taking some inventory, taking into account, where does this emotion rise in my body? How do I feel in my body in this type of situation? When does my body feel really, really good and comfortable and vibrant? Okay, how do I do more of those things when my body feels that way? Dance, movement, swaying. Like if you're married like me, just grab your husband and make him sway with you a little bit. Like he's gonna love it, you're gonna love it. And how much more feminine do you feel when you're doing something like that? talking about feminine energy being in the body, of course, taking care of your body, that same sort of nurturance, like from point number one, right? The vitamins, getting out in the sun, getting your vitamin D from the sun, stepping outside of the house, eating nutritious food, a good self-care routine, good hygiene, all of this. And I have faced periods of depression in my life where I didn't have the best self-care and I didn't have the best hygiene. So what I would say is, if you're in that boat, first of all, I really get it. And think of what small thing you could do. Like, what small thing? Like, girl, if it's a wet wipe, like, that would be a positive step, right? And normally what happens is we talk about action. That small step just might end up, becoming a snowball and snowballing into a few other steps. So it's interesting to consider, like, these are actions. Like, you take different actions and you feel a different way. But the feminine energy is not about hustling and this fierce production and any of that stuff. And that's something I've had to train myself on as well as a high achiever, and like learning how to make money online. It would almost be like any hobby I had, it's like, you can monetize this. And I learned a lot of useful skills, don't get me wrong, but you're not in your feminine energy. That is just not feminine energy. So the way I view it is, there's a time and place for production, hustling, grinding a bit, like meeting your goals, being fierce, and efficient in your action taking. And there is always enough time for you to step back, slow it down, enjoy the beauty. You're still taking actions. You're still creating. The feminine energy is one of creativity and play. And so if we're thinking about creativity and play, like, I'm putting this flower arrangement together, not to sell it, not because it has to be perfect and, I want to turn around and make a profit out of it, but I'm still taking an action. I think sometimes it gets confused, and feminine energy is talked about as this thing you just kind of sit back and do nothing. That's not true. You're always doing something, but it's the intention behind it. It's the cadence in which you do it. And it's the reason behind why you do it too. So when you're in this place of creativity and play, more of the feminine energy, you're not so attached to the outcome, right? It's not about cooking the most perfect Michelin star meal ever. It's about the experience of cooking the meal, the sensory experience. Like, I hear the food talk to me on the stove. I don't know if anybody else is crazy like this, but like, I can tell when something, say I'm cooking a steak, I can tell by the way it sounds. Like, I hear it. And of course, the smells. Quick cooking tip, because I was never like much of a cook, but now I'm a really good cook. Like, if something smells like it's burning, it's burning. It's not that it's about to be burning, it's already burning. So you got to move fast. But like, that's inviting all of your senses into the experience, into this creativity and play of what you're doing, without a deadline, without it needing to end up a certain way. Things needing to end up a certain way, useful from time to time, but that's way more rooted in the masculine energy than in the feminine energy. And then you come to understand that simply showing up this way, because again, you're still doing. We'll so often think, but I don't do anything. You're doing a lot. Like, this is a lot to do. And you'll realize by showing up in this way, like, you've done enough. You're doing enough. You're doing more than enough, and you are more than enough. That's how that works. And so when I say to you, what's something creative you like to do? First of all, if you feel like totally shut down, that's an indicator that you're a bit disconnected from your feminine energy right now, which is totally okay. You have the opportunity to creatively play and experiment and explore. Just move towards your proclivities, move towards that which is pulling you, right? If it's painting, if it's writing a poem, if it's doing a floral arrangement, right? If it's walking in the botanical garden, the more you sit and give yourself a moment of quiet, as mentioned in my Stoic View of Love video also, Aristotle said, nature hates a vacuum, something will come. You will not sit in a vacuum of quiet for very long. Something is going to shout out at you. And that is your feminine soul trying to launch itself forward and saying, go take the dance class. Go buy yourself some pretty flowers and arrange them all over the house, girl. Get yourself 3 bouquets. Like, that feminine voice will speak out if you give it the chance to re-find itself, especially if it's been quiet for so long. You've been hustling, you've been grinding, you've been trying to make things happen. It's been quiet for so long. Give it a chance. Give it time to find its voice. And man, it's wildly fulfilling, and being more in tune with my feminine energy than I have ever been has been a huge source of happiness in my life. And then at the end of the day, doing these actions, right, you'll be focused on different things. Like you suddenly have less space to focus on all the negativity and pain and scary stuff in the world. You have less space to focus on trying to solve everybody else's problems, which is not an energetically feminine thing to do by any means. But what is though, is listening, holding space, simply listening. Most of the time when people have a problem, that's all they want anyway. They don't want you to come in with your super smart problem solver hat and solve their problem. They just want to be heard most of the time, right? And if you happen to divine and you're in flow and your intuitive sense is calling something out, because the more you do this stuff, the more you'll hear your intuitive voice as well. And if you're hearing somebody talk about a problem they have and you get an intuitive hit of something to help them, you can first ask for the invitation to help them, right? You can first say, oh, I might have something that could help you. Are you open to hearing it? Like, that's a feminine approach to being a bit more productive, to helping somebody else with a problem. That's not, oh, I know what to do, you got to listen to me, and then being mad when they don't, which is a trap that I've fallen into in the past. No. So women, generally speaking, of course, are so much more intuitively gifted than men. And I think that that's a product of like really having to take care of our environment, our families, our social groups. And so therefore we can read people, we can feel their emotional shifts. Like sometimes, like it just takes a glance, right? And you know that somebody's attitude has shifted or what they're thinking has shifted. Generally speaking, again, women are so much more in touch with that than men are. And so the more you listen to that voice, the more you use that voice as a screen for what you allow into your life and what you don't. And the new focus you have on cultivating these sensory experiences, being in your body, inviting beauty and caretaking, but not a ton of obligation into your life, the louder even that intuitive voice will get, and the less space. There will simply be less space in your life for fools, drama, negativity, stupidity. Like, there will just be less space for that. And that's when your feminine energy becomes magnetic, because who doesn't want that, right? Who doesn't want the opposite of all that bad stuff? And this is how you do it.